Alright, so I'm going to demo how to do your cinnamon rolls. And you see, it looks kind of like funky junky. What I did so far is I just like turned the dough out. It's still really nice and cold. If you remember when we took it off the mixer, it was like super sticky and it would stick to every single thing. When the dough is nice and cold, you can work with it, but you still have to work fast because you're trying to make sure that you're getting everything done before it gets back to that sticky, icky place that it was at before. So when we put it onto the sheet pan, we just kind of pressed it out and we put it on top of a piece of parchment paper. So I went ahead and flipped my dough out as soon as I could and just kind of pulled that parchment off of it. And it's kind of uneven and I need to even that up. So I'm just going to kind of like press it into place, shift the dough where I want it to be so that those parts that were thinner become thicker and then I can roll it more evenly. Whenever you're rolling a dough, you want to try and do it with as little excess flour as possible. So it's just like a, ooh, even that was a lot. Just a little dusting of flour and then you're going to roll it out and you're going to try and keep it nice and even so you have really nice product. And for me, I'm going to go ahead and turn it. You always want to turn it and feel what you're doing. So after each roll, you're going to turn it 90 degrees. And that way, you can always be aware of if you're sticking or if you're not sticking. So I can see that my dough is moving along the surface, which is really, really good. And I'm just going to go ahead and press it on the edges. And I have like some thickness to it. If you want to roll yours down a little bit more than what I'm rolling mine down, more power to you. I don't really care about that. I just feel like it comes out with a better texture with your cinnamon rolls if you kind of start it with a little bit of thickness going on there. So I'm just going to kind of like line it up, make it into a nice fun rectangle. I'm going to take the filling. And the great thing about this filling is that when it bakes, it really bakes nicely into it. A lot of times you'll see people use butter and cinnamon sugar, which is fine, but I like the filling better. And you can put raisins in this if you want. And in my dough, I had put some lemon zest too, which was a lot of fun, so it gives a different level of flavor. So you can always like jazz up your sweet dough so that it's what you want it to be. And it is going to want to shift and it's going to want to do all these weird things, and that's okay because that's just the nature of how it is. And if it's not shifting, that means you're sticking, which could be a really bad thing too. But we're going to take it all the way to this edge on this side. And it's a pretty thick layer, but it's not like anything dire. I mean, we're going to take it as far to these edges as we possibly can as well. Because that's all going to be in the center of the roll. And then I'm not going to go all the way to that edge on that side. Instead, on that side, I'm going to put water so I can seal down my dough at the end. Then after that's all said and done, I'm going to do a nice tuck all the way along this line. And I'm really go in and tuck that so it's nice and tight. And you might see little bubbles start to form. That's okay. That just means that your yeast is waking up. It's getting active and awake, and that's good. That's a really good sign. You want to see that. And the whole time I'm kind of tucking it back into it, so you want it really nice and smooth. And the further you get into it, the easier it is to do. And then when I get to that final seam, I'm going to run it, like, make it nice and tight as best I can. I'm going to try and make sure that it's nice and even all the way along the And then I'm gonna cut it, and I'm gonna put it directly onto my little half sheet pan. So y'all just missed that whole portion. But I'm gonna take off that little side. And I'm measuring with my fingers to try and keep them appropriate sizes so that some aren't too big and some aren't too small. We're just right here. Everything's gravy. Everyone gets the same serving. La-di-da. And then you're gonna line them up like this, and you're gonna give them some space. You see how this one's kind of folding open? I'm gonna go ahead and seal that down again. So they're all gonna go in just like this. So you want to give them space to grow, because remember, they're going to double in size in the proofer. Okay, y'all good? After this is done, I'm gonna go shove it into the proofer and let it double. And I'll show y'all what that looks like. When they're ready to go into the oven, there's certain things that you can do to test for if a dough is ready to go into the oven. So, kind of like the opposite of testing for a cake. You know, if you press on the surface of a cake, it'll kind of spring back for you, and you'll have that like bounce back and it's all gravy. When you're doing that for dough, that's happening now, okay? Once it gets more proofed, it won't spring back as much. It'll spring back more slowly. That's where you want it to be. And you want to be able to give it a little bit of a jiggle, and it'll kind of jiggle. And obviously it'll be double in size. But if you press on it and it's gone beyond the place where it will come back slowly, it's overproofed. So you don't want to go that far. You want to be in that nice middle ground. Okay? Yeah? Get to it.